So Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I bid to Dr. Zaina and all of my friends. So my name is Fathiyah Nisya binti Farish, and today I'm going to share my field experience in SMK Sultan Badlishah, Kulim Kedah with you guys. So let's start. Okay, for the first, we're gonna start with the history of the school. Okay, the school started as Government English School on 8th January 1948 at Kedah Volunteer Force Drill Hall. The idea to start this school was established by the Kulim district officer, and that is Syed Omar bin Syed Abdullah Shahabuddin. The school then became known as Badlishah School, taking the name of our Sultan Kedah, His Royal Highness Sultan Badlishah, because he visited the school the year before. And in 1959, the school adding the word Sultan in front of the Badlishah, thus known as Sultan Badlishah School. Okay, so the notable alumni that used to go to this school is Abdul Qadir bin Sheikh Fazir, the MP of Kulim in 1986 to 2000. So next, I prepared to you the school video footage, basically the entire school. So you guys can click on the video to take a look at it. Okay, so next we're gonna go to the introduction of the school. The school name is Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Sultan Badlishah. The address Jalan Sultan Badlishah, Kampung Tunku Putra 09000, Kulim Kedah. The current principal is Tuan Haji Yazid bin Yusof. Number of teachers are 70 teachers, while the number of our workers is 19 people. Number of the students, there are about around 900 students in the school. The school was not that big to have like 1,000 students in it, and conditions to enroll to the school are very strict, because only students who got full A's in their UPSR could enroll in this school. Next, for the number of classes, we got 30 classes, where each form only have 5 to 7 classes each form. Sports house, the core curriculum activity, they have Samsudin, the red house, Syed Omar, the green house, Sultan, the yellow house, and also Sultana, the blue house. Sport houses are named very interesting story behind the name of these sport houses, where the Samsudin taking the name of their Dewan, of their hall. Syed Omar is taking the name of their hall, Syed Omar Hall. Sultan, because the name of the school itself is Sultan, and every Sultan need a Sultana, so that's hence they named the other sport house Sultana. Next is the school mission, and that is maintaining a quality education system to develop the individual's potential to meet the country's aspirations. For the school's vision is quality education of educated people of prosperous countries. The school motto is Bersih Setia, clean, loyal. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at some pictures that I took when I was doing observation in that school. Okay, first we have our own very sports day. It is on my first day that I come to the school, and suddenly the teacher said, "Oh, it's our sports day, you should join." But I literally didn't do anything. I just sit the VIP tent and just look around, all the students and stuff doing their work. Okay, next, here we have video clips that I took when it's their sports day. You guys can take a look. These all are the barisan rumah sukan by the students. Very creative. It's very funny when you look at their performance and all. And I think this is like the best part of my experience when I was in that school. Okay, so moving on to the next photos, and this is the photos that I took on their morning assembly. First, we have our own official assembly that being held every Sunday, where when I came, to that school on the Sunday. They have official assembly where they did a perasmian anugerah nilam and also sambutan kedatangan pihak JPN, where these people from JPN came and take a look at the school condition, how are the students doing, how are the teachers doing, and all those test statistics that they will take a look at, because it is one of the best school in Kulim, so they need to maintain their rank in Kulim. Next, we have co-curriculum. They call it a COCO assembly every Wednesday, and on this day also they held a very special day, and that's called English Day, where on every Wednesday all the announcement and all those announcement from teachers, they have to talk in English during the day, because it's a English day, and also it's a co-curriculum day where all the students are dressed up in their own COCO uniform, as you can see in the picture. Next is we have Yasin reading assembly. This assembly is being held only on Thursday, where all the Muslim students will go to surau and read Yasin, while non-Muslim students will assemble in the hall, as you can see, to take a moral lesson from non-Muslim teachers. Next, we have, this is their library and this is their canteen. Their canteen are very, very small. The place where they get food, they buy food, is very small and limited, so hence the school already a place at outside of the canteen, as in the picture, for the students to sit and eat. Next, we have this, their anjung. Mostly the anjung is used for their co-curriculum activity, where students from another persatuan, from another club, will assemble in this anjung and have a meeting on their own. And next, we have Samsudin Hall. This Samsudin Hall is where they held their morning official assemble every Sunday. This a very special corporasi, where the corporasi is like very famous among them, so hence they make a video out of it on corporasi day. So I've prepared a clip so you guys can take a look and watch it. Okay, so moving on, we're gonna talk about the class observations that I go. So these are the 4 classes that I've been into. It is vary from Form 1 to Form 4. My mentor wanted me to observe this Form 1 class to Form 4 class, because they start to learn a new syllabus, and that is CEFR, and that's why she doesn't want me to enter and observe Form 5 class, because they have a very different syllabus from the Form 1 to Form 4. So as I went and observed these 4 classes, I find a very, very interesting issue, and I've also could take a look their students' proficiency level from Form 1 to Form 4. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at 1A7 class. It's being conducted by Miss Edna Lim Chin Im. The date is on 4/2/2020. The time is from 10:30 AM to 12 PM. The topic that they were discussing on that day is free time activities, mainly focusing on speaking, and the issue that I find is the interaction. Okay, next, moving on, we're gonna go to Form 2 class. This is a combined class between class 2A2 and 2A3. This class is conducted by Mrs. Gui Wunchi. The date is on 11/2/2020. The time is on 9:20 AM to 10:30 AM. The topic that they were discussing on that day is money currency, mainly focusing on listening, writing, and also speaking. The issue that I find in this class is motivation. Next is the Form 3 class. This class was being conducted by Mrs. Kamila binti Mahali. The date is on 9/2/2020. The time is from 11 AM to 12:10 PM. The topic is literature, and the issue that I find in this class is teaching the teenagers. And the last one is for Science 4. This class was being conducted by Mrs. Saraswati. The date is on 6/2/2020. The time is from 12:10 p.m. to 1:20 p.m. The topic that they were discussing on that day is Let's Chat, mainly focusing on reading and speaking. The issue that I find in this class is proficiency level. Okay, so moving on to our first class, and that is 1A7. This class is being conducted by Miss Edna. The issue that I found in here is interaction. The theory that best describes the situation in the class is, according to H.J. Widdowson, 1987, teachers are to act as an authority in interaction instead of authority in transaction. So, the activities that has been done in the class is where Miss Edna has prepared an audio for the students to listen. And while they were listening to it, they will jot down the answers in their textbook. So I think this activity is best described as like a listening activity, a listening lesson. Next, the interaction that I found in this class is teacher to student interaction, where Miss Edna will ask one of the students about the audio that they have listened to, like what is the boy in the audio is doing, and then the student will answer, oh, the boy is skating, and so on, and so on. And also I found the students to teacher interaction, when one of them do not understand the meaning of a word, they will immediately raise up their hand and ask the teacher, oh, what is the meaning of this word? And Miss Edna will gladly to answer that, because all she wants in that class that all of the students participate in the lesson. Next that I can find is that students interaction are also seen, is that when they were doing speaking activity, Miss Edna has assigned them to read the passage in the book, in their textbook, where the passage is involving two persons, so they need to find a partner. So meanwhile they were looking for the partner. They were discussing about the passage. They were doing really well. English are not so good, but they tried to talk in English, especially the Malay students where don't really know how to speak in English, but their friend from other race, such as Indian, and there's this Indian boy who are very good in helping his friend to read the passage in good English. Okay, next we're moving on to our Form 2 class, combined class from 2A2 and 2A3. This class is being conducted by Mrs. Gui. The issue that I found in here is motivation, and I specify it to intrinsic motivation, where the theory that I've used in, according to Edward Deci, he defines intrinsic motivation, where intrinsically motivated activities, ones for which there is no apparent reward except the activity itself. So means the students learn the lesson just for the sake of learning it, to gain knowledge, and not anticipating a reward from the teacher. So this class is very big. This combined class is being held in one of those bilik pendidikan Inggeris, where this room is slightly bigger than their classroom, where it can fit two classes in it. So the activities done are quite interesting and quite fun, where the teacher talks about money currency with the students, you know. For example, they refer to the textbook, where the textbook explain about the UK currency, and that is pound, and then the teacher asked them to do a pair work. After that, the teacher asked them to do a pair work where they need to find a pair and then create a conversation where they will change the currency from pound to ringgit. So these students are very actively participate in the activity as they find it is very interesting. You know, they can create whatever dialogue that they want it to be, whatever things that they want to buy between them and their partner. So as I take a look at the students' conversation, I find this one conversation between this Chinese boy and also this Indian boy where they do a dialogue where both of them are actually husband and wife, and the situation itself is very funny where both of them talk like one act as like a wife and one act as a husband, and that creates a very fun environment for the students to learn. Basically they learn that without anticipated any reward from the teacher itself. They just do the dialogue because they want to learn about the money currency, you know, changing the money currency from pound to ringgit Malaysia, and with this ringgit Malaysia, what they can do throughout the conversation, what they can buy from the ringgit Malaysia. So I think these are the little lesson that they actually managed to get from the lesson itself. Okay, moving on to our Form 3 class, and that is 3A3. This class is being conducted by Mrs. Kamila binti Mahali. The issues that I find in here is about teaching teenagers. The theory that I could best describe this situation is, according to Brown, when teaching teens, the teacher need to encourage small group work where risks can be taken more easily by a teen. You know, when you were a teacher and you teach teenagers, you need to be more careful because teenagers right now are in their rebellious phase, are in their still finding their own phase, where the teacher needs to be really more careful, do not hurt the students' ego, where what they can do is be a friend towards their student. And all of this can be seen in Mrs. Kamila class where she teach literature. She asks the students to do a group, so a group of 4, and then they need to discuss about the poem, and then they need to recite the poem. So it depends on the group whether they want to read it, like one group, one person read it, or one group, all of the students in the group read the poem. So I find that Mrs. Kamila approach to talk to the students is a very in a friend way, where she talks like a friend, so that makes the students feel more comfortable to, you know, discuss the poem with her. But there is some slightly issue that I find it, whether you are a teen or you're an adult or you're a child, it's, you can't do that to the person who gives you knowledge, where one of the students are a bit rude when she want to ask the teacher, where she didn't raise her hand, she just straight to cikgu, macam mana nak buat ni, like that. So I think that intonation, that way of speaking from student to a teacher is kind of rude, and I think you need to be more careful when you talk to your teacher or someone who gives you knowledge, because you need to respect them. So I think there's a bit slack in that lesson because of this particular student, where she act very rude. And also there's this one group of students, when I sit on the back, they were like looking at me like they are not satisfied, like they were looking at me like, what is she doing here, why is she staring at us, why is she write in her books and like that. They gave me like some kind of unpleasant feeling that I was there, and then they were playing with, you know, when the teacher are being distracted with other students, they were playing with their mirror, you know, fixing their tudung, fixing their lips, fixing their face and all that, and then pass on the mirrors to their friends and all that, where I find that kind of rude, you know, in the middle of the lesson. The teacher are talking to their friends, guiding them, but then they just don't really care about the lesson and just in their own world. So that's a bit slack, I think, the lesson for me. But overall, the lesson was conducted very well by Mrs. Camila, and the students perceived it very well, where at the end of the lesson, Mrs. Camila asked them to write in front of the whiteboard, as you can see in the picture, what they learned from today's lesson. Okay, next, for our last class, and that is for Science 4. This class is being conducted by Mrs. Saraswati. The issue that I've found in here is the role of the teacher. According to Brown, students should be encouraged to initiate comments and negotiate certain options in learning where appropriate. So the activity that's being conducted in the class is that Mrs. Saras discuss a topic with them that is about gadget, where she initiate a conversation between Mrs. Saras and also the students, where when first she talked about gadget and asked the students' opinion on, okay, what is the latest gadget that they have in market in today's era, and what are the gadgets that have been used back in the older days. So this kind of sparked the interest in students, where they talk about gadgets, they give their comments on their what kind of gadget that they like to use and so on. So I think Mrs. Saras play a very good teacher, where she lets all her students to think widely. It's just not all. It's just she doesn't really spoon feed them. The students need to think higher on the topics that they were discussing. And next, Mrs. Saras do an activity where she asks about okay, I want you guys to think about a gadget that has never been invented, and maybe it could be invented in the future. And then Mrs. Saras asked the student to think about a gadget that are not been invented yet, maybe are going to be invented in the future, so that the students could think and come up with their own creation, their own opinion on that. So okay, the students are discussing among them and all, some sort of that. And after time's up, the students tell about what kind of gadget that they want to make. There are also students that say they want to make a hologram, and they said and other students said they want to make a phone that is, you know, doesn't require battery, doesn't require for you to charge it. So there are many creative comments that sparks between the students on what kind of gadgets that they want to make in the future. So I think this is a very good activity that could enhance the students to think more, to think outside of the box, or to think that things that people doesn't think yet, but they think first, sort of like that. But one of the weakness that I found in this activity is that These activities was much more focused on students who can talk in English, and that is mainly the Indian and Chinese student. For Malay students, they can't really talk in English, although they want to talk in English, but their English are not so good. They have a very limited vocabulary, so they couldn't really participate in the discussion, and that is one thing that Mrs. Saras just let it be and just hear the opinion from those people who talk. So I think if the teacher wants to do this kind of activity, I think she should take all of the students' opinion and not some of them. Okay, I think that is all from me. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to ask me questions in Google Classroom. I'll try to answer it as best as I could. Thank you guys.